Hi, welcome to our next lesson. This lesson will be dealing with multiplying polynomials and special cases that deals with polynomials. So the objective is, how do we multiply polynomials? So when it comes to multiplying binomials or binomials with trinomials, you apply the distributive property twice, but with binomials you do it twice. That means that you do double distribution. But I'm going to be showing you three options in order to multiply binomials. So the first option, let me get that set up. The first option, they give you x plus 3 times x plus 2. So if you do the double distribution, basically you're taking the first term in the first set of parentheses and multiplying to each of the terms in the other parentheses, and then you're taking the second term in the first and multiplying with the other two in the second parentheses. So when you end up doing that, you have x times x gives you x squared, x times 2, 2x, and then for the green, 3 times x, 3x, and 2 times 3 gives you 6. Notice that 2x and 3x can be combined. It can be combined to 5x. Once you've done that, then you just put it all together. So it would be x squared plus 5x plus 6. That's doing double distribution. The second method that you can do, and I'm going to make this bigger so that way we can see it, is the box method. So the box method, basically, as you can see, you draw a box, and based on what the two expression is, what they gave you, which was x plus 3 and x plus 2, you put them in different sections. So the x is in the first, on top of the first, 3 is on top of the second column, and then the other expression, x is on the side for one row, and then the 2 is on the other row. So once you do that, then you multiply whatever is on top and bottom. So it's like where they meet, that's where you're going to multiply. So x and x gives you x squared, and x times 2 gives you 2x, x times 3 gives you 3x, and then 3 times 2 gives you 6. So each box is based on what you had on the column, and then the row intersecting at that box. Notice that you see 2x and 3x, they're like terms, so that's why I circled it in yellow. That means you're going to have to combine it. Once you've combined it, then you put it all together. If I can get everything out of the way. 2x plus 5x equals, x squared. Why keep on saying 2x? X squared plus 5x plus 6. And if I were to expand that, notice that what we did with double distribution is the same answer for a box method. The third option is FOIL. You may have remembered FOIL from middle school. If not, they may have used it and they may have not. If not, this is the first time you'll be hearing it. FOIL is first, outside, inside, last. And when it comes to doing that with multiplying binomials, you take the first element. So the first in the first parentheses is x. Same thing with the other one. So it's x and x. So x squared. Then you take the outside terms. So x is out further, and so is negative 2. So 2 times negative x times negative 2 gives you negative 2x. Then you do the inside, which is the ones that are inside and not inside the parentheses, and next to each other inside the parentheses, like the second and first last term, but they're not exposed to that outside, if that makes sense. So 3 and x, so 3 times x is 3x. And the last term of each of the parentheses, so we've got 3 and negative 2. Don't forget, if there's a sign in front of the number, that has to be with that number, or if it was a variable, with that variable. So 3 times negative 2, negative 6. And when you put it all together, this one will be combined. Negative 2x and 3x will give you 1x, or just x. And then you could put it together, which will be x squared plus x minus 6. So I've just taught you 3 different ways to to multiply binomials. I know the last one we did for the third option was different because it was x minus 2, but again, you could use double distribution, you could use the box method, or you could use FOIL, whichever is comfortable with you, whichever you like. and in order to get the answer, use it. For me, I like to use the box method. Again, it's something about drawing a box and then having everything meet, and that's where you multiply, and then it makes it visually easy to look at. So whichever works for you, use it. All right, so based on that, we're just going to look at examples. This one says to use FOIL. So if there ever is a time on a test they ask you to use FOIL, use FOIL. If they didn't ask you to do anything and just say multiply the binomials, choose whatever method that I showed you in order to multiply the binomials. So for the first one, I'm using FOIL, so I'm doing the first. So I'm going to use, oops, that's going away. I'm going to use this. So the first with the first, so that's x and x. So that will give me x squared. Then I'm going to do the outer. So the outer is x and 7, positive 7. So that will give me 7x. 7 times x, 7x. Then I'm doing the inner. So the inner, I'll use red for that. So then that would be negative 5 and x. So then that will give me x times negative 5, which gives me negative 5x. And the last term, and I use purple for that. So then it'll be negative 5 and positive 7, which will give me negative 35. And then when I put it all together, notice that these two can combine. So put it that way, combine gives me positive 2x, so it's x squared plus 2x minus 35. Right, so again, that's using FOIL. For the next one, let's do the same thing. So 2y and 6y, you multiply, gives you 12y squared. Remember, when you have the same base and you're multiplying, whether it's multiplying powers, then you add the exponents. The outer, 2y and negative 7 gives me negative 14y. The inner, 3 and 6y gives me 18y. And then the last 3 and negative 7, negative 27. And you combine your like terms, which is negative 14y and 18y, gives you 4y. So 12y squared plus 4y minus 21. That's using FOIL. All right, let's go on to the next one. Now, you're going to see times when they're going to ask you, they're going to give you a word problem, and then you have to, again, apply this method, whichever method you would like to use in order to solve the problem. So this is the area A of a trapezoid is 1/2 the height h times the sum of the bases b1 and b2. Write an expression for the area of the trapezoid. All right, so they gave you expressions for the base on the top. So this is base 1. This is base 2 at the bottom. And then we have the height, the vertical part of the trapezoid, which is x plus 2. I already told you what the area of a trapezoid is. 1/2 the height times the sum of the bases. So half height times b1 plus b2. All you have to do is plug in the information they gave you. Where's the height? X plus 2, and the bases, 3x minus 7 plus 2x plus 1. So once you do that, you need to, the half, you need to distribute for each term. So it'll be a half x, and then that would be 1, because half of 2 is 1. And then you have your two binomials, and this is where you combine the like terms to give you to your simplified form. Now, choose the method. If you want to choose FOIL, choose FOIL. Box method or double distribution, whichever, in order to find the area of the trapezoid. So I chose the box method. So I put my first expression on the top, and then I put my second expression on the side, making sure that whatever sign is in front of the number or variable is going to be attached to it. And then I start multiplying the terms. So the half and the x and the 5x, they meet here. So that will give me 5 over 2, x squared. Then I have 1 times 5x, which would give me 5x. Half x times negative 6. So basically half of negative 6 is negative 3, and it's 3x. And then the last one, negative 6 times 1, gives me negative 6. Notice that negative 3x and 5x I can combine. So then that will give me 2x, and then I put it all together. positive 5 over 2, x squared, plus 2x minus 6. And there you go. You have the area of the trapezoid. Right. Nothing to it. If you know which method you like and you do it right, you will get your correct answer. Right. So let's go on to the next. All right, so we did multiplying binomials. Now for this one, multiplying polynomials. So you'll have either a binomial with a trinomial with a trinomial. They said use distributive property, or you can use the box method. Because when you look at this example, it will get really hairy when you start to just do the distributive property. Numbers, signs, things would just get all messed up. You might make a mistake. I prefer to use the box method because everything is all in order. You have the sign with the term. Everything is all neatly in its place. So, and it makes it easier to see, okay, what you need to multiply, and if there's a sign that you need to bring into the answer, and see what you need to combine. So notice how I have those two terms, 2x squared and 4x, give me 8x to the third, and same base, add the exponents, and I did that for the rest of them. So where the negative 5x, I just go straight down, go to the row where positive 9 is, give me 45, negative 45x, and I do that for the rest of them. And notice the ones that I circle in yellow, they're like terms. I can combine them. The peach colored one, they're like terms. I can combine them. Notice how when you do this in the box method, it makes it looks cleaner, organized, and easier to see what you need to combine, and everything all in its own little box. Once you have the like terms combined, then you put it all together as 8x cubed minus 2x squared minus 33x plus 27. And that's your answer for multiplying those two polynomials. And of course, notice that I put it in standard form because that's how polynomials roll. Standard form. Okay. Let's look at another example. Again, I have two trinomials that I'm multiplying. Again, the easier way to do it, use the box method. If you want to do distributive property, you could, but it just gets messy, and there's a chance for making sign errors and math errors along the way. Box method is the best when you're doing this type of problem. So again, I put my green term, my green expression on the top, make sure that each term has its own column, and then the red one has its own row. Each term has its own row, making sure that the sign, whatever sign is in front of the term, is attached to it. Once I have everything in its place, then I start multiplying each term, depending on where they're located, either column and row. So column, row, multiply, column, row, multiply. Notice that this negative 3y, if I go down to the second row is negative 2y, then I combine by multiplying 3, 6y squared. Do that for all of them. And then look for the terms that you can combine. And notice that negative 12 and 3, negative 3 has y cubed. And then this row, well, this diagonal has y squared as a like term, and then this diagonal has y as a like term. Combine them. So then once I get to the end, I have 6y to the fourth, negative 15 to the third, plus 37y squared minus 17y plus 5. That's all there is to it. If you do the box method with these kind of problems, with multiplying trinomials with trinomials, or binomials with trinomials, it makes it look easier, and there's less chance for sign error. And of course, answer in standard form. Right. So the next section that we're going to do, because I did mention about polynomials, multiplying polynomials and their special cases. So for this one, we're going to find squares of sums and differences, and find the products of a sum and a difference. That sounds like a mouthful. What does that all mean? Well, we're going to find out. So when it comes to multiplying two binomials, okay, you can use FOIL, you can use box method, double distribution, whichever you like. In this situation, they use FOIL. So again, first, outer, inner, last. and then they found the like terms, combine them, and then get your simplified answer for the two binomials that were multiplied. But it says this is not always the case, where it's, you're going to have this type of question. Let's look at the one below. It says 3 plus x plus 3 times x minus 3. They say, notice that the product of x plus 3 and x minus 3 is a binomial. Yes, we know that they're binomials. So one of them is positive, the other one is negative. So when you see this type of situation, this is called, it's going to be called a difference of squares. Because again, notice that when you do FOIL, what is your first term? It's going to be an x squared or y squared, whatever it is. So it's square. But when it comes to having the same term, either positive or negative, you're going to have this, your product is not going to have a middle term. Notice how there's a middle term in this one? There's not going to be a middle term. So I'm going to show you an example in the next one. So this is called a difference of squares. So let me just show you the example in the other one. Oops. Actually, I don't have an example for that one. So I'm going to use this as an example, which would make sense. So let me get that. So I'm going to use the box method for this. So I'm going to have x and positive 3 here, and I'm going to have x and negative 3, and I'm going to multiply. So x and x times x gives me x squared, not 2x, because we're not adding, we're multiplying. Multiplying same base, add the exponents. So this would be negative 3x, and x times 3, 3x, and then I'm going to have positive 3 times negative 3 gives me negative 9. Now, let's see the like terms. So we have, I'll use the green one. So notice that this says negative 3x, and then negative 3x and 3x, positive 3x. If you combine those, it's going to give you 0. So they cancel out. What are you left with? You're left with x squared minus 9. So this is called a difference of squares. There's no middle term because they cancel each other out, and you end up with two terms. So this is called a difference of squares. So when you see same expressions that are almost the same, but the only thing that's different is the signs, positive, negative, then you're going to end up with that. So basically you just square the first, and then you square the last, and then that's it. The middle term you don't even have to worry about because they'll cancel out. All right. The next one is the product of a sum and a difference. So basically what I just showed you here, it is the product of a sum and a difference. So notice how they have a plus b and a minus b, and this is what you end up with, no middle term. You basically square the first and the second term of each of the parentheses. So again, they use the example, and I'll just take this out, and 9 and negative 9x cancel out. So you're left with x squared minus 81. So again, this is called the product of a sum and a difference. That's the positive and the negative. So let's look at this example. There's a plus and a minus. They have the same term first and the last one. So what I did here is a is going to be my 3n, and b is going to be my 2, based on this format, this formula. And when you use this formula, basically you just plug in whatever you had for a and b. You just substitute it in there, you square it, and then you get your answer. Rather than doing FOIL or the box method, if you know that formula, let's put it this way. If you're good at memorizing formulas, then memorize it, and then it will be easy for you to just get the answer when you are dealing with a product of a sum and difference. If not, then you will have to use the box method, and then you still come up to your answer. All right, next one. Next one, oops, unless there's examples, nope, there isn't. It's taking a while for it to go on to the next page. All right, the next one is the square of sums, the squares of sums and differences. Let me see if this, make sure a product. So the other one was a product. This is the squares of sum and differences. It's a lot of which one is which, product, squares. So this one, when you're dealing with squares of sum and differences, it's basically you're basically taking the same expression and multiplying it to itself. So as you can see, you have a squared, a plus b squared is the same as a plus b times a plus b, and this is what you get: a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So again, if you're good with memorizing formulas, then you'll know that this a squared, a plus b squared equals a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. They use an example with 7x plus 7 squared, and notice that if you were to substitute the letters in there, use the blue one. So let's say this is A and this is B. So wherever A and B is, you just plug it in. So notice how a squared, A was x, A x again, B is 7, and then the B 7, and then you just simplify, and then you get your answer. Again, if you're good with memorizing formulas, then this will be easy for you to just plug in what you need to plug in, and you get your answer 1, 2, 3. So let's do the examples below. So for example number 2, they have 4y plus 5 squared. So again, they've used the a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. They just plugged in. So wherever if, a is 4y and then b is 5. So they just used that formula and plugged in into that format, and then they got their answer. Same thing with this one. So let's say 8c is, I'll use blue again. So I'm going to put 8c equals A, and then 3d is going to be B. So if we have a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, so we just plug it in. So wherever there's an wherever there's an A, we put 8c in the square, and plus 2, and then 8c, and then wherever there's a b, we put 3d. And then this one will be squared. So if I were to show you what's covered here, look what they have. Same thing like I did. So if you knew the formula for this, then you just plug it in, and then simplify, and then you get your answer. And I'll make this bigger so that way you can see. There. And this one's in the way. So again, if you're good with formulas, memorizing, then you know what you're dealing with when it comes to multiplying binomials, then you could use that. If you're not, it's not a problem. You just use FOIL, box method, or double distribution to get your answer. All right. Now, we learned about the square of a sum. This is the square of a difference. Rather than saying a plus b squared, we use a minus b squared. Same thing, the only thing that changes is instead of having the plus there, this is going to be minus. And again, same thing, they plugged in whatever your first term is a, your second term in the parentheses is b. You plug in wherever the a's, whatever a's are, and the b's, and then you get it. So for the example below, they used that format, a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Wherever there was an a, that was our 6p. And then wherever there's a b is our 1. And I'm going to just make it clear. So this one was our a, and then the b is negative, is 1. And there you go. Same thing with example 5. The a's, they replaced a's with 5m, and then they replaced the b's with 2. Right. And we've reached the end. So there was a lot to unpack. So let me try to get to the front. I don't want to go too fast and then end up messing up things. All right, so we learned about multiplying binomials and also multiplying polynomials. You use the distributive property twice with multiplying binomials. That's double distribution. You could also use the box method, or you could use FOIL. Whichever you like, whichever feels comfortable, whichever makes your life easy. You got 3 options. Choose one. Then when it comes to multiplying polynomials, I would advise you to use the box method, because you could do double distribution. You could actually use the distributive property, but it gets a little bit hairy because you got signs to deal with, and then the math, like with multiplying numbers, is a good chance of getting correct mistakes to happen. So if you like everything neat and organized and everything there, so that way you can do the less mistake. You can make the less mistake based on multiplying polynomials, then use the box method, because then you can find out which things you need to combine, what signs are with what, and all that stuff, and you can just put it into its final standard format. All right, so that. So again, show an example. And then we learned about special cases when it comes to multiplying binomials. We learned about the product of a sum and difference. Basically, you're taking 2 expressions, 2 binomials, and multiplying to each other. One is plus, one is minus. And you also learned about the square of a sum, where you take the same expression and you square it, and it's addition, so a plus b squared. And you also learned about those square of a difference, which 2 expressions is a minus, so a minus b times a minus b, or a minus b squared, and then apply it to get your answer. Again, if you're good with formulas, you're good with memorizing them, then memorize the square of a difference, square of a sum, and the product of a sum and a difference. And when it comes to recognizing what the problems, then it'd be easy for you to just plug in your numbers and then simplify, and you're done. If it's not easy, then use box method or double distribution or FOIL. All right, so we've come to the end of our lesson. If there's any confusion, if you need more examples, more practice, any help, feel free to email me and I will help you out. All right, have a good day. Bye.